Now, 24 hours after Operation Midnight Hammer was carried out, the U.S. military disabling Iran's nuclear capabilities at 3 separate enrichment sites. You're looking live at Tel Aviv in Israel, early morning hours there. Assuredly, though, a sleepless night for all of those in Israel and safe to say across the Middle East. B-2 stealth bombers carrying out these strikes, President Trump calling it a spectacular military success. Iran, he then said in a national address, must make peace or future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. We are also learning at this hour, and this is new as we came on the air tonight, Iran's foreign minister going to Russia. He will be meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Also, President Trump is suggesting the possibility of a regime change in Iran. So a lot happening at this hour. President Trump also says the strike on Iran's nuclear sites was a success, but the aftershock we have seen has rippled through Washington. Democrats and even some Republicans say that the president crossed a line by not seeking congressional approval.
This was not constitutional, was not lawful in the absence of a declaration by Congress. And so the administration should have come to Congress. We will have a vote on a war powers resolution.
The White House pushing back against Democrats who say they weren't made aware. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says that the White House made bipartisan courtesy calls to Democratic leadership in Congress, even talking to Senator Chuck Schumer before the strike. NewsNation's Joe Khalil joining us live from the nation's capital with this side of the story. Joe, what else are you hearing about who was told and when?
Well, Marnie, typically the Gang of Eight, if you might hear that phrase, is notified before military action. So it's not just on the Democratic side, the leaders, Schumer and Jeffries. It would also be Congressman Jim Himes and Democratic Senator Mark Warner. Why those two? Because those are the two Democrats at the top of the intelligence committees in the House and Senate. I am told, even still, that they were not notified. And if you notice, actually, Caroline Leavitt's post there, she didn't mention those two at all. They maintain they did not get any sort of advance notice before the strike. And more generally, what you're hearing from Democrats writ large is that they feel like Congress should not only have been notified, but should have been given a hand of approval in a strike like this, as constitutionally any act of war is mandated. There's been a debate back and forth as to whether President Trump, in his war powers, should have the authority to launch a strike like this without approval from Congress. Democrats say no, they should be involved in some way. And Democrats have also basically said that they were not sure about the intelligence leading up to this strike. Was Iran imminently ready to develop a nuclear weapon? I've heard a lot of Democrats say they doubt that. I want to put up one senator's post. This is Senator Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan, the Democrat there, because I think her post encapsulated what a lot of Democrats are feeling. She says the real question is, what happens the day after? A strike can have major repercussions for safety and stability across the region. As someone who served in Iraq and saw close the loss of blood and treasure over 20 years, she doesn't want to be embroiled in another conflict. Neither do the American people. And she says that is why the founders built a role for Congress on issues of war and peace. Republicans on the other side of the aisle, Marnie, most of them, the vast majority, have been pretty supportive of President Trump authorizing this strike. They basically praised the president for doing it, the timing of it, none more so than Lindsey Graham, who actually went further than most Republicans, and he actually endorsed the idea of regime change. After President Trump posted about it, he said, as usual, President Trump is spot on with his desire to make Iran great again by changing the regime, either through their behavior or through new leadership. So that is Lindsey Graham, maybe the most hawkish Republican senator on Iran. Marnie, one notable exception here. There are a couple, but the most notable, most vocal exception to this rule has been Congressman Tom Massey, a Republican who, for the beginning of his career, has opposed military intervention virtually across the board. He was very critical of President Trump. This is what he was saying just today about the strike, basically saying it was a big mistake.
I'm here to represent the base of the MAGA party that got Trump elected. Most of us were tired of the wars in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, and we were promised that we wouldn't be engaging in another one. Yet here we see this happening.
So, Marnie, well, again, I want to emphasize that for the most part, Republicans have supported President Trump here. We've been reporting, even before the strike, a divide within the MAGA base and very influential voices like Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. People outside of Congress, like Tucker Carlson and others, had been warning President Trump not to make this move. So it will be interesting to see how that divide develops and whether President Trump can either shore up some of that support in whatever happens next, or whether it remains staunchly against his decision to launch this strike.
Joe Khalil in Washington. Keep working those sources. Joe, thank you for the update.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.